From 1988 to 2010, the Phoenix Suns were consistently competitive while earning trips to the playoffs quite frequently. During this period, Jerry Colangelo and his son Brian did an admirable job acquiring and drafting talent. With all the numerous transactions that materialized, the Suns would uniquely wind up assembling an extremely talented trio of point guards to play on the same team. For the 1992-1993 NBA season, the Phoenix Suns won a franchise record 62 games, but lost to Michael Jordan and the Bulls in the NBA Finals. Several players from that memorable unit went on to other teams in the subsequent years, but one fan favorite stayed throughout the 90s, Kevin Johnson. Phoenix acquired Johnson from Cleveland after Cavs point guard Mark Price established himself as a reliable starting point guard and would later become an All-NBA player. KJ himself would also become an All-NBA player. Johnson had an absolutely tremendous 4-year period in the late 80s to the early 90s, averaging 20 points and 10 assists a game. Now, Kevin Johnson was named a finalist for the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame, but unfortunately, it seems like he might not get in, perhaps due to some injury history impeding his NBA career at times, and the ridiculous argument that he didn't win a ring. But to me, Johnson was a great player when he was healthy. I thought he had perhaps the quickest first step ever. That left me wondering, how can defenders possibly stay in front of him? As mentioned earlier, KJ had injury issues. Furthermore, I remember Johnson was going to play 10 years in the NBA and then retire. So for the 96-97 season, that was going to be Johnson's 10th year in the league, and it looked like number 7 was going to retire. This possibly prompted the Phoenix Suns to draft point guard Steve Nash, 15th overall in the 1996 NBA draft. Nash's Hall of Fame career started off slow, but he showed promise and impressed his Suns teammates early on. But it was later on where Nash really displayed his wizardry with the ball in Mike D'Antoni's system. But Phoenix wasn't done dealing, as less than a month after drafting Nash, the Suns, who were coming off a 41-41 season, decided to trade Charles Barkley to Houston. One of the 4 players Phoenix would get back was point guard Sam Cassell. Cassell became a really solid point guard later on in his NBA career, but Cassell would quickly be traded along with a promising young talent in Michael Finley that brought Jason Kidd to Phoenix. Kidd would become a Hall of Famer as he obviously had tremendous passing skills, was also one of the fastest with the ball in his hands going baseline to baseline ever, and was tremendous on defense. So for a portion of the 96-97 NBA season, but for the full 97-98 NBA season, Kevin Johnson, Jason Kidd, and Steve Nash would be on the same team. And I loved it because it was so unconventional at the time, seeing 2 talented traditional point guards start, and then having a 3rd traditional point guard with potential come off the bench. And there were times where all 3 were on the floor at the same time. In fact, for a game against the Houston Rockets on March 7, 1998, Kevin Johnson, Jason Kidd, and Steve Nash all started. Phoenix lost, but it was a fascinating lineup and something very unique at the time. However, Phoenix lost in the first round of playoffs in each of the 2 seasons with a talented point guard trio. Afterwards, Kevin Johnson would retire. Steve Nash, who was coveted by Don Nelson as the type of point guard to run his faster paced offense, was traded to the Mavericks. Then late in the 99-2000 season, Jason Kidd suffered an ankle injury, which prompted Kevin Johnson to come out of retirement to play 6 games in the regular season and 9 games in the playoffs. Jason Kidd did come back later on and played 6 playoff games, but interestingly, another talented trio of point guards materialized as Kidd, Kevin Johnson, and Anthony Penny Hardaway played together for 6 games in the playoffs. Penny at this time was a shooting guard but was previously a 6'7" All-NBA point guard for Orlando. But as the 1999-2000 season concluded, Kevin Johnson finally retired. Later on, Jason Kidd had a domestic abuse arrest that resulted in him being traded to New Jersey. Kidd did wind up going back to Dallas, the team that originally drafted him, and won a championship. And Steve Nash would come back to the Phoenix Suns, the team that originally drafted him, to earn 2 MVP awards. It was so unique and unconventional back then to have a trio of Kevin Johnson, Jason Kidd, and Steve Nash on the same team. This trio of point guards won't be remembered in NBA history as being one of the best Big Threes ever, but it's a Big Three that will always be cemented in my mind. It seems very unlikely that there will ever be a team that will have a trio of point guard talent like this ever again. Real quick, I just want to thank all those who have supported 90 Sports Nostalgia. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share, and check out the links below for Patreon. Thank you so much.